She's smiling at you. The conversation seems to be going well, but something feels off. You can't quite put your finger on it, but there's this gap between what she's saying and what you sense she's actually feeling. Welcome to one of the most frustrating aspects of male-female dynamics, the things women think and feel but never actually say out loud. I'm about to share 7 secrets that women carry with them every single day, but rarely, if ever, explicitly communicate to men. These aren't manipulative games or intentional deceptions. They're truths that women keep hidden because society has taught them that expressing these needs, desires, and realities might make them seem needy, difficult, or complicated. Let's dive into the secrets hiding in plain sight. Secret 1, they're testing your leadership constantly. Here's something women will almost never admit directly. They're constantly testing whether you can lead, make decisions, and take charge when necessary. Not because they want to be controlled or dominated, but because they want to know if they can relax their constant vigilance and trust someone else to handle things occasionally. I learned this through a painful pattern in my relationships. Women would ask me where I wanted to go for dinner, and I'd respond with, "I don't know. Where do you want to go?" Thinking I was being considerate and collaborative. Then I'd notice a subtle disappointment in their eyes, a small shift in energy that I couldn't quite understand. One ex-girlfriend finally explained it to me years after we broke up. She said that every time I deflected decisions back to her, even small ones like choosing a restaurant, it felt like I was making her carry the mental load of our entire relationship. She wanted someone who could occasionally just make a decision confidently and handle the consequences, giving her a break from always being the one to figure everything out. This doesn't mean making every decision unilaterally or ignoring her input. It means being willing to take ownership of decisions when asked, to have opinions and preferences, and to occasionally just handle things without requiring her to manage every detail. Women spend most of their lives making decisions and managing logistics for themselves and often for others. The man who can occasionally lift that burden through confident, considerate leadership becomes incredibly attractive. Secret 2, your emotional strength matters more than physical strength. Women have been conditioned by society and media to emphasize physical attraction, muscles, and traditional masculine physicality. But here's what they rarely say out loud. Emotional strength and stability are far more attractive in the long term than any physical attribute. What is emotional strength? It's the ability to remain calm under pressure. It's handling criticism without becoming defensive. It's dealing with conflict without losing your temper or shutting down. It's processing your own emotions in healthy ways rather than expecting her to manage them for you. I witnessed this distinction clearly at a friend's wedding. There was this guy who looked like he walked out of a fitness magazine, objectively the most physically impressive man there. But when his girlfriend got upset about something minor, he became defensive, raised his voice, and made a scene. Meanwhile, another guy who was average-o looking but remained calm and empathetic during the same type of situation with his partner ended up being far more attractive to every woman who witnessed both interactions. Women rarely tell men this directly because it sounds like they're saying, physical attraction doesn't matter, which isn't quite true. Physical attraction opens the door, but emotional strength determines whether they want to stay. A man who can handle his emotions, remain steady during her emotional storms, and provide a sense of psychological safety becomes increasingly attractive over time, while purely physical attraction tends to fade. Secret 3, they want you to want them, not need them. This is perhaps one of the most confusing dynamics for men to understand. Women want to feel desired, cherished, and chosen. But the moment that desire crosses into neediness or dependency, attraction evaporates almost instantly. The difference between wanting and needing might seem subtle, but to women, it's the difference between attraction and repulsion. When you want someone, you're a complete person who would like to share your full life with them. When you need someone, you're an incomplete person looking for them to fill the gaps in your emotional life. Women can sense this distinction immediately, even if they can't always articulate why one man feels attractive and another feels draining. I made this mistake throughout my 20s. I would fall for women and unconsciously make them responsible for my happiness and emotional well-being. I'd text constantly when we were apart, feel anxious when they were busy with their own lives, and structure my entire schedule around their availability. I thought I was being devoted and loving. They felt suffocated and ultimately lost attraction. Secret 4. Your attention to details matters more than grand gestures. Society and media have taught men that love is demonstrated through big romantic gestures, expensive gifts, elaborate surprises, dramatic declarations. But here's what women rarely say. They're far more moved by consistent attention to small details than by occasional grand gestures. Remembering that she mentioned being stressed about a work presentation and following up to ask how it went means more than flowers out of nowhere. Noticing when she's tired and suggesting she relax while you handle dinner means more than an expensive restaurant reservation. Paying attention to her preferences and incorporating them into daily life means more than jewelry on special occasions. My partner once told me that the moment she knew she was falling for me wasn't when I planned an elaborate date, but when I remembered after 3 weeks that she casually mentioned loving a specific type of tea, and I showed up with it unexpectedly. That small act of sustained attention and care meant more than any expensive gift I could have bought. Secret 5. They need space, but fear asking for it. Here's a truth that women rarely express directly. They need time alone, space from the relationship, and periods where they can focus entirely on themselves without feeling guilty. But they've been socialized to believe that expressing this need makes them seem cold, unloving, or not invested in the relationship. I learned this when girlfriend became increasingly irritable and distant, and I interpreted it as losing interest in me. When we finally had an honest conversation, she explained that she felt suffocated by constant togetherness and guilty for wanting time alone. She worried that asking for space would hurt my feelings or make me think she didn't love me. Once we established that both of us could have independent time without it threatening the relationship, everything improved. She became more present and engaged when we were together because she wasn't feeling drained by never having time to herself. The relationship became healthier because we were both complete individuals choosing to share our lives rather than two people trying to merge into one unit. Secret 6. Competence in daily life is deeply attractive. Women rarely directly tell men this, but watching a man handle basic life tasks with competence is surprisingly attractive. This isn't about being impressed by someone doing the bare minimum. It's about the security and partnership potential that competence signals. When a man can cook a decent meal, keep his living space clean, manage his finances responsibly, maintain his health, and generally function as a capable adult without requiring someone else to manage these aspects of his life, it signals that he's a potential partner rather than another dependent to care for. Secret 7. They're protecting themselves much more than you realize. The final secret that women rarely communicate explicitly is how much mental and emotional energy they spend on protecting themselves in interactions with men. From the moment they meet you, they're unconsciously running risk assessments, monitoring your reactions, and maintaining awareness of potential threats to their safety or well-being. This isn't about being paranoid or thinking all men are dangerous. It's about lived experience teaching them that they need to be constantly vigilant. They've learned to manage men's egos, to avoid angry reactions to rejection. They've learned to be careful about how much they drink, because vulnerability can be dangerous. They've learned to share their location with friends, before dates, and to have exit strategies planned. Understanding this reality transformed how I approach interactions with women. I realized that creating genuine comfort requires actively demonstrating through consistent behavior that I'm safe, that my reactions are predictable and reasonable, that I respect boundaries without pushing back, and that I can handle rejection or disappointment without becoming hostile or manipulative. Women rarely explain this burden directly because it puts them in the vulnerable position of admitting fear, or because past experience has taught them that some men react poorly to this conversation. But recognizing this hidden reality and actively working to create genuine safety through your words and actions makes an enormous difference in how women experience interactions with you. These secrets aren't about women being complicated or mysterious. They're about understanding the specific challenges, needs, and realities that shape how women move through the world and relationships. When you truly understand these hidden truths, everything becomes clearer, easier, and more authentic.